In the heart of Tokyo, there is a district that exists in two versions at once. By day, Kabukicho is loud, chaotic, and overflowing with life. Neon lights reflect off polished streets, tourists take photos, and music pours from every direction. It feels like a place built entirely for entertainment, excess, and distraction. But by night, something subtle shifts. Not dramatically, no sudden change that people can easily point out. Instead, it is a feeling. A quiet pressure in the air. A sense that the city is watching back. Locals never describe it clearly. They only say, "Don't stay too long after midnight." The back alleys are where this feeling becomes strongest. Between the towering buildings and glowing signs, there are thin gaps of darkness, passageways too narrow for comfort. These alleys are used during the day for deliveries, shortcuts, and cigarette breaks. But at night, they become something else entirely. There is an old rumor among delivery workers that Kabukicho was built over something it was never meant to replace. Before the entertainment district existed, there were reports of a forgotten residential zone, small homes, narrow paths, and unnamed streets that were slowly erased from maps after a series of unexplained disappearances decades ago. Most people dismiss it as urban myth. But those who work night shifts long enough begin to notice inconsistencies. An alley that should lead to a main road suddenly loops back into itself. A vending machine appears where no electricity line exists. A staircase leads upward, but when climbed, it brings you back to the same ground level. One of the first recorded incidents comes from a security guard named Hayashi. He worked night shifts near the older section of Kabukicho. He reported seeing a man standing at the end of an alley every night at exactly 1:40 a.m. The man never moved. Never blinked. Always facing away. On the seventh night, Hayashi decided to approach him. As he walked closer, the alley became unusually quiet. Even the city noise disappeared. When he was just a few meters away, the man slowly raised his hand and pointed deeper into the darkness. Hayashi followed the direction, and found another version of himself standing behind him. The second version smiled, even though Hayashi himself was not smiling. When he turned back, the original figure was gone. Only the sound of footsteps remained, walking away in both directions at once. After that night, Hayashi quit his job and moved away. He later told investigators that Kabukicho does not always keep one timeline. Another incident involved a group of university students exploring the area for a documentary project. They entered a narrow alley at 2:12 a.m., filming everything as proof that urban legends were exaggerated. At first, everything seemed normal: graffiti, trash bags, dim lights. But after walking for nearly 10 minutes, they realized something impossible: they had not crossed a single intersection. In reality, that alley should have ended within 30 seconds. Yet the path continued, stretching further into darkness, as if the city itself refused to let them leave. One of the students stopped filming when he noticed something strange in the footage. Behind them, in every frame, there was a figure standing closer each time they cut. The problem was, none of them ever saw it in real life. When they finally ran back, the alley exit had changed. The street they entered from was gone. In its place was a brick wall covered in old, peeling posters with names of people none of them recognized. Only 3 of the 5 students returned to their dormitory that night. The other 2 were never found. Their cameras were recovered later, but the footage only showed static after a certain point, and faint whispering in Japanese repeating, "Still inside." As the years passed, more strange accounts surfaced. Taxi drivers refusing certain routes. Police officers avoiding specific intersections without explanation. Even veteran locals admitting that there are blind spots in Kabukicho where GPS and memory do not agree. One of the most disturbing recurring reports is the woman in the red coat. Unlike other legends, she is not tied to one specific alley. She appears in different locations, always near reflective surfaces, glass doors, puddles, mirrors, or vending machine screens. Witnesses describe the same pattern: she appears distant at first. Then closer. Then closer again, without moving. Some say she is not approaching the observer, but rather the observer is unknowingly stepping toward her, through space that no longer behaves normally. A nightclub worker once claimed she followed her reflection instead of the woman herself. In the mirror, the red-coated figure stood behind her. But in reality, there was nothing. When she reached out toward the glass, her hand passed through it, and for a split second, she felt cold air from the other side. She screamed and pulled back. The reflection smiled. The nightclub closed 3 days later after multiple staff reported hearing footsteps inside locked rooms. No explanation was ever given to customers. There is also a more recent phenomenon tied to modern technology. Some people report that when they take photos in Kabukicho at night, strange details appear later. Extra people standing in empty alleys. Shadows that do not match their owners. Or entire sections of the background slightly shifted out of alignment. One photographer claimed that in a series of night shots, he captured the same alley repeatedly. But each image showed a deeper version of it, like the city was layered, and each photograph peeled back another level. Eventually, the last image showed no exit at all. Only darkness and a single red coat hanging in the center of the frame. Shortly after uploading the images online, his account was deleted. His name no longer appears in any photography community records. During a major storm years ago, Kabukicho experienced one of its most documented anomalies. For approximately 11 minutes, all electrical systems failed. But what was more disturbing was not the blackout, it was what people saw during it. Without neon lights, the back alleys were no longer narrow. Witnesses described them as expanding outward, becoming wider than the streets themselves. Some even said they saw buildings that did not exist before, with windows glowing faintly from within despite no power source. People who were outside at the time reported hearing conversations coming from empty air. Others said they saw crowds moving in places where no physical bodies existed. When power returned, everything snapped back to normal. But the aftermath was undeniable: missing persons reports increased, and several surveillance cameras recorded footage that was later classified and removed from public access. One police officer who reviewed the footage resigned immediately. He reportedly said only one sentence before leaving the station: "We are not the only ones walking those alleys." Even today, Kabukicho continues its normal life on the surface. Bars remain open. Neon lights shine. People laugh, drink, and forget. But behind the brightness, the back alleys remain unchanged. Waiting. Shifting. Watching. And if you ever find yourself there after midnight, alone, with no clear direction, there is one final warning passed down through every version of the story. Do not trust the way out you remember. Because in Kabukicho, the exit is not always where you left it. And sometimes, it is not an exit at all.